Today, I am with my honorary co host, Kate Newlin, and we have a very special guest for you. This guest today needs no introduction. She has been a very dear friend to me. She's an amazing musician who plays just about every instrument known to woman, a wonderful mother to two precious children. She's changed lives with her brilliant lyrics and soulful voice. And she's a bona fide global superstar, Sophie B. Hawkins. Before we bring Sophie on, I want to play a little snippet of a montage I made from one of her songs, Darkest Child, which affected me deeply, and I think it's still very timely.
So long to the darkest child, waiting in patient anguish for the scent of someone's wilderness to howl against the smog screen of accolade smoothies, goosebump burgers, and Christ-like fries. How long can this world keep fucking itself up the ass? Wonders never cease. How long would it have to be, anyway? Long enough to cause hysteria, wide enough to cause great pain. I am in the wilderness alone. Oh, God.
Hi there. I have two very good friends here, Sophie B. Hawkins and Kate Newlin. Hi, everybody.
Hi. Hello, hello.
Sophie, thank you so much for being here with us today. We are thrilled to have you.
Thank you, Traci and Kate. Thank you for having me because I love this show. I've seen many episodes and I really love what you're trying to do, trying to open up the conversation so Americans can think differently to heal the divide. Literally, it would be wonderful. We need to.
Terrific. You know, Traci and I were talking yesterday about this a bit, and one of the things that we were discussing is simply that people, when they're dealing with politics, often speak to it or write about it using words. And the addition of you to the conversation here brings in a whole other sensory concept, you know, the role that music can play.
Yeah.
That we're, you know, I was telling her that in college, I was very interested in how different stim can elicit a common response. So if a poem moves you or a piece of artwork or a song moves you, oftentimes it feels the same, but the genesis is different. You can have that spontaneous, that powerful overflow of spontaneous feeling recollected in tranquility, right? So the notion of what, if we think about the political divide unilaterally, we're always going to try to use logic and syntax and words to explain it away or to deal with it. But I'm just interested in how you've seen music as a healing force.
Yeah, I didn't think that we would start here, but that's incredible because I do also think that music is my greatest teacher. And it does. Some people open up to music in such a profound way as it can to give them courage to change their lives. And even like with religion, for instance, and I think in some ways politics has replaced a lot of the spiritual longing that people have to belong. And maybe they're not finding it in their religions and they're not in their groups and their communities. And so now they're replacing it with like, if we could only just make everything this one way, it would make me feel comfortable and more better, and I wouldn't have to feel like nothing and non-existent and irrelevant. So the thing about the music is that my first like transformation, Kate, was listening to Handel's Messiah, because my mother would blast that when we would clean the house. And that's when I realized music changes everything. And then because she listened to Joan Baez and Bob Dylan and all these great, like sort of political, if not leaders, changers, they were game changers for our country. And we're talking about America, for our country to take bold leaps in consciousness, right? that, and then we, from Bob Dylan, we learned from the other folk artists who inspired Woody Guthrie to really love the common man and love the struggle. And these things, you know, I would have already been influenced this way because of my parents and how I grew up and growing up in Manhattan, where it is a melting pot. But on the other hand, it reinforced. So I guess the answer is music and songs and artists who have the courage to put these incredibly radical thoughts into songs, like this most simple, "This land is our land." Doesn't that make you cry? And even
Oh,
when you read the book, this, like I read to my children the storybook,
Yeah.
it makes you cry. Read it. They don't cry because they don't know yet,
Right.
but when they're little. But so yeah, that's the thing. And then for me, when you played The Darkest Child, like, hey Tracy, I forgot that that song even existed until you brought it
Oh,
back to me.
that's so,
And then but then I listen to it and I think, wow,
it's
I'm really
profound.
saying something that's, it's, first of all, Kate, it's real for me in my world of my life, The Darkest Child, but then I take it to the outer world, to our world.
That's what I tried to do with that. And that's what it meant to
I
me.
know you did.
Yeah.
I know you did, and I like that. So, and so just to say, I already answered your question, and I won't go on until the next one.
You can go on and on.
fair enough.
But, right, but we have to use music not to manipulate, but to encourage the actual change and the healing. And so often, I also think that music is used to manipulate, like in churches. And I go to church, and we have an incredible music program in the church, and I cry every time. And the praise music is so easy to get you, right? But but you also have to be careful, because simple music can also get you and solidify a shell around you as well.
Oh, wow. I bet Kate can take that one up.
No, I think you're exactly right. So there's an understanding I want to get to, because if we think about Heal the Divide
Yes.
as, a series of talking heads that are committed to healing the divide, we're going to attract like believers, right? Like the same people that would be charmed by that title and want that.
Heal the division, we changed it, but yes, yes.
Yeah, like it's that, like, yes, I want to heal the divide, but I want to heal it on my terms. In other words, bring people back into my understanding of what this country stands for. And what I've been challenging myself with the last couple of days as we've been thinking about this is how do you actually do that, in the sense
Right.
of making it okay to back up and say, okay, I was cheering loudly for this man who I want them not to cheer loudly for, right? Like, that's my bias here.
Kate said something interesting. I'm sorry to interrupt, but Sophie didn't maybe see this, but when I had my discussion with Rich Logis, you made a really interesting observation with regard to the singular comeuppance of eating the sleeve of Oreos at 2 a.m. and then the public comeuppance.
I saw it and I loved it. And it's one of the things that most amazed me, because I had never thought of it, Kate and Tracy. I had never thought how difficult it is. And even when you see a child have to say, yes, I did that, and I'm so ashamed, because this is a very human thing. And Rich Logis is an interesting character, though, because on the one hand, the nature isn't different. The nature is now I'm doing this, and I'm doing this very articulately, and listen to me. And I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm saying there are certain people, call them talking heads or whatever, that always have to have an opinion and always have to lead you somewhere. And they attract people who want to be led. And he said even about his certain people and very close to him, they just followed him because he was their person, And you said, but to really admit that you don't believe what you were saying you believed anymore, and these are the reasons why, is so profound and so beautiful, and so, to quote a song, Christ-like. I mean, that is really incredible. Are people going to do that? I don't think so. How do we heal the divide without having people do that? Like, in other words, why I say I don't think so is because there's too many people and the time is too short. The time is too short and the followers are too strong and they're not. And if people are about to do the wrong thing, like even if we take it out of here and let's go back to Nazi Germany or fascist America in the coming up to the 1930s, people are too close to the edge, and for everyone to pull back and say, "Oh my God, I was wrong." What do we do in this short period of time? And then so Kate and Traci, Traci knows I feel this way, but I feel like if I meet someone on the street, I have to listen to them really with my heart open and really work on not interrupting them and not putting my prejudices in, and then really love them. Love them no matter what they're saying. Love them. Love this person no matter what they're saying or doing. And somehow in a tone or in a word, say, "I hear you and I love you. Let's look at this another way. What if it were you who couldn't come across the border to be with your children? What if your children were taken?" I don't know how to do this. I mean, really, honestly, Jesus did it the best. But then also now that's being manipulated. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think, Freud said that what we're all after at the root is significance, right? So significance. What one hypothesis could be that the people that are the most invested in my way or the highway kind of worldview are the ones who are feeling the most insignificant, right? So they're grasping for significance, borrowed significance, to your point about Rich's explanation. It's that concept. If there's a group of people in this country who have begun to feel that they are insignificant players in the country, of course, that's a thwarting that infuriates.
Yes.
So to listen to them, to do exactly what you're saying is and to try as best we can to love them in that is to return their sense of significance.
There's a sense of punishment if we don't do that.
Right.
And so in a way to turn around and say you're wrong and you're all these things is to continue this. And so when you talked about the talking heads, what I feel like, and even with this all the issues in the world, Israel and Palestine, if you're not on this side, we're going to punish you. What would be great is like in every neighborhood or in every community, say in my community here in Connecticut, if we were actually asked to come to town meetings and asked to really be our true selves and speak and have a moderator like a Kate who can actually make people feel that they're.
We have to clone her, Soph.
Well, no, you exist. You could train. In other words, if we could actually, if you can do it once by example, and then the ripple effect would go out, that people could feel, like you said, listened to. We don't know what the answer will be, and we have to let go of knowing what the answer is too. Because how do we know?
Good point.
It's that letting go of our surety is then balanced by the request that they let go of their surety.
Yes.
And then you can get to a state in which we come to a shared understanding of the challenges. One of us brings a significance to it. Now, I love the idea of moderating and mediating in that kind of concept.
Community,
but what I want to push you on, Sophie, is can music hotwire that in some way? In other words, there's a feeling that comes up from words, from poetry, from well-argued essays, all of that. But there's another feeling that happens when music washes over us.
Well, first of all, yes. And so I'm now thinking, take some of my newest songs, like Do Something Meaningful, which I wrote in response to the shooting of Lori Carlton.
Beautiful.
That was a hate crime. And so what I think is like, not my first instinct was to go to people in my community and that we all do something together. And now what you're saying, and I think this is the better idea, to go to, but it scares me, and that's the point, to go to people who don't like my the way I express myself, don't like the way that I chose all the choices I've made in my life, and to go to those people and say, let's do something together. And that's what it would take, because too often we're preaching to the choir, and it just makes money for the same people, and it's the same kind of hot, fabulous, wealthy people who are just basically looking great. Again, we actually need to go to the places where people are treated as less significant by the big city slickers, and go and make the song or the songs or the music, and it would be a real endeavor, because it would probably, and by the way, so when I went and did the performance for Go Proud, and I didn't investigate it, I was telling Traci, I just wanted to bring the purple into America, you know, the red and the blue, and put them together, because I thought so many people on the right were great and worthy, like the veteran John McCain had great things to say, and so many people on the left, Hillary was fantastic, let's have her win, but let's bring everyone together because the fighting is too much. I mean, that almost seems like a joke compared to now. It seems like we weren't even fighting at all
Right.
back then.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So then I did this Go Proud event simply because they asked me to, and I thought, wow, America's really healing. These Republicans want me to sing at their event. Well, believe me, I got so much backlash, and still to this day, from
Got a lot of flack from people that you know.
only on the left. The people on the left are
Right.
so
And therein the problem lies, Soph.
and
Right?
still mad at me. So if I took a new song, to your point, that I love, and I say I want to rewrite this or work on it with somebody who has no running water in the Appalachian Mountains, and who really, really has all these feelings that are very different than mine because of their lifestyle compared to my lifestyle. Wow, can we work together? And maybe we can, and that would be the best. And it would take a tremendous effort on my part. And everyone would also have the instinct, Kate, to go to the famous people on the other side and make a big press event and a social media event. And then it brings up everyone's kind of mistrust of you. You're doing this for press. It just almost, it's like, yeah, it has to be like really done for the reason of doing it in the heart. Like you really want to do it. It can't be
The
done.
doing of it is the point, not the
Yeah,
proclaiming of the doing of it.
correct.
Yeah.
You have to do it and then put it out into the world, and without any expectation. And that takes actual, like you just said, it takes doing.
Yeah.
Kate, you're wonderful at thinking out of the box and
Yeah,
all
it's
kinds
amazing
of
because it's
all kinds of stuff. So
uncomfortable.
how does one go about, especially, I mean, you know, Sophie's talking about, as with her notoriety and all of her wonder, and by the way, you have done amazing healing with your music since the early 90s, since I've been keeping track. But how does a Sophie or a Traci or a Kate or a trio go about doing exactly what Sophie just said?
Well, it has to be a sextet, right? It has to be three of us and three who we would never cross-pollinate with otherwise, right?
Yeah, the word is so great, cross-pollinate.
Sextet and cross-pollinate. Okay.
Yeah. You know, I mean, you'd need not to be in charge in that way. You know, here's how you other must heal, but rather here's what collaboration can bring, honest collaboration.
Yes, it's like if we're doing we'd have to go to the most extreme too, in a way. Well, maybe not at first, but if we're going to write a song about, I'm just throwing this out there because it seems to be a hot button, having babies or life, and we're going to go to someone who absolutely believes that a woman should never have an abortion under any circumstance, and that you'd have to have the two absolutely different needs represented, in this song about life or birth or,
Not to
these-
not to interject, so if I didn't properly introduce the fact that Kate is a brilliant writer, and Kate, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
what?
Your one of your books that happens to be about a woman who gives birth with you've got to read this.
I want to. What is it called?
It's called The Madonna's Daughter.
Oh my gosh.
Can you give us a 25 words or less about what the Madonna's Daughter is about?
It's a modern day retelling, except it's a woman of a certain age who finds herself pregnant and cannot explain because she's a lesbian and she's never been with a man, and nobody can explain.
And she's over
that.
like 50, right? Go ahead.
And she did not have IVF. She did not. It is an immaculate conception, and the question then becomes, how does the world react this time around? We can look back over our shoulders and say, oh, they didn't believe it was Jesus, like it was the Son of God. They didn't believe, but we know. But given a second chance, would anybody view it differently?
Exactly.
So that's also a great title of a song. I mean,
Yeah.
that's great. That
Yeah.
narrative is wonderful.
And this is why I keep really smart, fabulous people around me, like the two of you.
Yeah.
It
Such-
sounds
I mean, it is.
wonderful.
It stemmed from a hypothesis as I was thinking about the story. The Son of God come to earth. So God so loved
Sophie
the
would love it. Sophie would love to.
Well, I'm going to read it. It sounds like it sounds like also a wonderful musical, like a playsical. But it also seems like the fastest thing to do is, you're right, is to write a song. That's the first fastest thing to
Or a
do.
play or a book. Yeah, that's what we
Well,
all
I
do.
don't know about you, but I think books take a long time. Do they, or do you write them fast?
She
I
is so
fast-
prolific.
Right.
It's Sophie. I have written a screenplay version of one of her books, which was, I forget how long that tome was. It was approximately 450 pages. I tried to pare it down.
I don't think so. I don't think
Oh, it was, I think.
Oh,
That
okay.
being said, she's very prolific. She's very prolific.
She dared me to write a novel in a month.
I
so-
dared her and she
Yeah.
did it, Sophie. She did it. I can't write a play in a month, but she wrote a novel in a month. And by the way, it's really good.
Well, so taking the Madonna's Daughter idea, is to, now we have to bring in 3 or however many people who completely who would have a different view of us, wouldn't have the same outcome. So I'm sure that's the book. I have to read it, but that would be the effort of the song anyway, right?
Mhm.
And so what we're talking about is work, and this is where this country really is good.
Right.
Remember the public works, remember after the Great Depression,
Mhm,
it's
mhm.
the works that got everybody going again, right? So I like this work project. I like this work project also for schools. I like this
Yep.
work project a lot. Working together, and it's like why the armed forces really helped people in the 60s. I mean, even though Vietnam was terrible, but blacks and whites and everybody got to be together. And
Right.
I never met a man who didn't
And
say
learn about one another. Yeah.
right, that didn't say that was the positive of war, is being in the barracks with people who you would never know.
Well,
And
look, here's another thing, is my first job out of college was as a second lieutenant in the Army.
That was her first job out of college. So
wow.
And it was post Vietnam, but I will tell you, when I look at these politicians pontificating about issues of the military and issues of the defense of the country and patriotism, and I realize they've never had to do anything
Yeah.
that somebody made them do. And in the Army, it is a shock to have to behave in a certain way, dress in a certain way, salute in a certain way, talk in a certain way. All of that comes as a shock. And to me, as a young person, it was a radical shock. As a woman, I mean, I had no idea, but it was the best experience of my life in those ways, in learning how to get things done and in learning how to take orders and give them. And you've got a whole, at least one generation that have ghettoized military service as something that other people do who don't have good options.
Exactly.
And they've never had to follow an order. So they don't know how to sacrifice. That's why you end up with a president who's able to say what he does about people who gave up their lives for the country. You know, like it's a total misalignment of values. And
Yeah.
so I'm struck by, you know, the notion of work is something we do extremely well in this country. Work and achievement and progress, all of those kinds of things are kind of hardwired into them, into us. And so the idea of creating works that align, that bring us together on a shared mission. I mean, that's what the military does, is you accomplish the mission, take care of the people. It's just that simple. It's very.
Yeah. And why can't we have a works program like a military on behalf of our country? So we're not going to war. We're sort of going to war on poverty. We're going to war on poverty, just helping. And it's like when you do a mission trip or whatever the equivalent is for any religion. Why isn't this maybe in a way it's like we're arguing, not you, not us, but people are arguing with each other, and really that leaders should come down off their pedestal and start actually doing the things that we need to see happen. Start actually doing them. Stop running for, not stop trying to be popular, start trying. And that was what appealed to me about certain past people, is that they actually really did sacrifice for other people.
Yeah. And that word, you know, like Traci and I've talked about this too, is this notion of even the words sacrifice or patriotism or values or what it means to be, you know, like the minute you say them, you realize the content of the words changes by the context.
Yeah.
And so if you hear one right-wing individual talking about patriotism, it has a whole different meaning than when I think about what it means. You know, like we're not using the same vocabulary,
right,
to house the same meanings.
right.
And that's why I come back to the music of it, is that kind of cuts across it. It comes in a way that, like you as a kid with Handel, you know, like it's wordless. You're telling yourself your own story with it. But it's engaging with emotions. You know, you feel the beat of it, you feel the progress of it.
Yeah.
And you can pretty well trust that other people listening to it are feeling something of that musical trajectory.
Something akin to that, yeah.
Well, so remember Hamilton?
Yeah.
So, you know, how does that play in areas where people are extremely racist and stuff? It's actually a question. So there's a brilliant musical, brilliant lyrics all around. How does that play? I didn't ever know. Like, say, in some state where they really are just not New York.
I'm being from Texas and having visited, my Texas parents are absolutely loved Hamilton, but some of the people that I talked with down there, A, did not know that the musical existed, and B, some of whom did know, just thought it was a bunch of historical garbage. I mean, those terms actually came out of their.
Well, I'm asking, as it's like sort of like we're trying to figure out what to do musically. So, but we want it to work. We don't want to just like, again, preach to the choir. We want to actually.
Oh, I think Hamilton was hugely successful, regardless of what some of the
among a subset, an elite subset of theater going public, right?
Right. So we're talking about trying to heal the divide. Is it division?
So there's no
it's division now. You can say divide or division. So here's my question for you as well, and I don't mean to segue a little bit, but I am, because the three of us could probably talk for 4 hours, it sounds like, which is fine. Sophie,
Your editing job harder. Right?
pardon?
Makes the editing job harder.
Oh, stop. I'm fine with editing, darling. So tell us about Free Myself and your newest album.
Yes.
I from what I've heard, it's amazing, and it sounds to me like in your Sophie B. Hawkins brilliance, you are going about healing the division as you have your previous 7, but certainly in this one, your 8th. It's your 8th album, correct?
Yes. Well, I do think the very first of all, to distill everything we're talking about down to something that I live by is that all these politics and all our problems in the world come from our internal struggles. And when we basically heal ourselves and become more conscious, that's when we're able to be a part of humanity in a much richer, deeper way. So Free Myself is, as you said, after 8 albums or after all these cycles of work and struggle, I've come to a place of really being able to be all parts of myself without any sort of holding back or shame, and share it with people with this luxury of just no heaviness, no expectations from myself, no shame of myself, no judgment. And when I start to feel, if I'm on stage and I'm singing a song, say Free Myself, the song, and it used to be that if I sang a note, quote unquote, off tune, which I don't even know if it would have been off tune, it would be my mind saying, and then I would go to somebody in the audience, I'd look at them and I'd say, that woman in the first row thinks I'm a terrible piano player and thinks I'm singing off tune. And then in the show, I realized that woman is not judging me at 5 songs later and being miserable because I felt so judged. And this is the part about significance too. It's how you feel about yourself and how you feel other people see you, and feeling you really don't have a shot in this world, no matter how beautiful you are, because every baby believes in themselves. Now I'm a parent of 2 children, and I've seen a lot of children. And children, you can crush a child, but they're born with something, every child. I mean, even the bluest eye starts with, no one is born thinking that they're a piece of shit. They have a natural joy and love, and whatever you call God, children remember God. And I know that because I've heard a number of children say at the age of 2 or 3, I'm starting to forget God. And nobody ever taught them about God that I knew about. So this is a thing. We all have inside of us this natural connection and this natural relationship with the divine. And basically, Free Myself is getting back to it, because I had that moment on stage where I was singing and playing, and I said, that woman is judging me. And I was miserable because of it. Then I was angry, all that. And then suddenly I looked at her and I thought, wait a minute, that woman's my biggest fan. She's in the front row. She loves everything I'm doing. She's not judging me. She's sitting there in rapture that we are so close. And it changed my life. And that's the image, what I'm trying to describe about Free Myself. The moment where my own consciousness kicked in, because I connected to something from my unconscious, something I'd been working on for years and years and years and years and years, to get rid of all my judgment and shame that was just keeping me unhappy in the things that made me happy, my work. And that was the moment that I would say Free Myself came from. I realized that you don't even know how much you're loved. And that's a lot of the moments when people are say, have a religious experience where they suddenly realize, they don't say, they're not in their drama, their drama that, they go, suddenly, I love God, and they feel happy. Ooh, it's something beyond yourself. And then they realize they're connected to everything, and they don't need all this shit anymore. Sorry to curse on your show.
You can curse on the show, so
Right. So this moment of like it just happens. You don't mean it to happen. So that's what Free Myself comes from. And that's sort of the lightness and the depth at the same time of the songs and the simplicity of recording them. There's no loops, there's no tone correct, there's no pitch correct. It's just real instruments, real songs, and it's a different side of, or it's a different version of me, and it's true, and it's my next starting point. But that's all I wanted to say about that. But this is where I want to connect to. When we talk about writing songs with people who are so different and have this such a strong sense of how the country is different for them, we want to come from this place of spiritual oneness. We don't want to come from it like an intellectual exercise, which is why I think, Kate, you're talking about the music, and then why I instantly went to Handel, because there's no words.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Well, it frees you to make your own story too, though, doesn't it? I mean, we're natural narrators. We listen to it, we feel things. I mean, ballet does it in
Yes.
that way. You know, it's a cycle of expression that feeds on itself.
Yes, I have this image, and Kate and Traci, you'll really get this because you're both writers. I want to, it's like if I'm standing in the road with someone who believes that everything I am is sinful, and maybe it's a woman who, is not going to have an abortion for all these reasons, and we're fighting, fighting, fighting. And suddenly I look at this person and I put my hands on her shoulders, and I say, what do you want? What do you want?
Right.
And then you want to hear it come out. And it's not here, it's what do you want? What do we want?
Right.
And then we want to hear that and really feel it and give somebody that.
Or
Like give them the permission to have
with them.
Right. I don't mean like give them what they want, like $100, but
Give them permission, as Kate said.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah.
yes,
It's the
yes.
co-creation piece that gets us on the same side.
Mhm.
Creation is where we come from. That's what isn't that what Adam and Eve did? Is it? I don't know anything about the Bible. I'm before the Bible. When God was a woman. That's my book.
I like that. I'm good with that. I'd like to have a further conversation.
Do that in one book. I tried to write it. If God had made Eve first.
You did
Wow.
write that. It's not like Gloria Steinem's if Freud were Phyllis.
Right.
Which, by the way, I met Gloria through you, Kate. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think they're
similar.
like everything changes, right? The narrative changes the minute you put a woman there first, and then it all just kind of ratchets through.
Yeah. I think, ladies, we have several conversations in us. I also wanted to, at some point discuss how we talk to our children about this. We all have children. Matty is 25 now, Kate?
24, just
24. Okay, 24. And then Dash and Esther. And then I've got Keeks, who's 18. It'd be interesting at some point to have a discussion about how we heal the division and navigate this with our children, no matter how old they are, because it's such an interesting time. I
think it's embedded, right? I mean, literally, you can't bring it at an intellectual level to them. They have to see you being it.
Yes. And you also have to listen and not preach too, because it's very offensive, I think, when parents try to put their ideas on children.
Absolutely. 100% on that.
They're going to meet that dissonance the minute they leave out the door, right? Whether it's to go to kindergarten or college or wherever, there's a recalibration that happens from how we do things within our family and how the world writ large does things. And people I like may disagree with me, like they're going to understand the gravitational pull of negativity that exists.
Right. Of course.
Here.
Yeah.
The best.
I said to Traci last time that America is a family. And that's how I feel as a family, like as if we're in family therapy, being in a room, a place, even metaphorically, and being curious about each other is a great step. And it can happen even in our own kitchens. Like we can be talking. If us three were making dinner, we could be, well, we would all have a good talk. We have to start listening to each other, even in the privacy of our own homes. It has to start really. It's sort of like the 100th monkey thing. Isn't that a true thing where 100 monkeys get a consciousness and then across the world they're picking that up? We really have to start and do the uncomfortable work of realizing that we're not right. Nobody's right, and nobody's truth really superimposed on anybody else is going to be helpful.
True.
You have to listen.
Yeah.
You know, it's the hardest thing though, isn't it? Because we take surety, we take our sense of selves from what we believe to be true. You know, it's a grounding. And so to unmoor ourselves and say, I'm going to be open. I'm going to float a little farther offshore to understand other currents and other waves, you know, like it's a challenge psychologically because we want surety.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
I know
true.
we're stepping on solid ground.
Yes, it is true. And you see it in every community in this country, every town, that, you know, it's taking more and more bravery for people to just in their own communities be themselves, which is why I think when Lori Carlton got shot in her own yard, and she had the flag out, the rainbow flag, and some young guy said, take it down, and she didn't. She put up a bigger one, and then he shot her. That maybe why that made me write the song Do Something Meaningful was because I felt there's no hope if we can't work together.
Right.
If we can't stop hating and start loving each other. Some, you know, and the first lyric is, since when is it a crime to be yourself? And you see this we all have children. You see this in first grade, bullying, a group of girls bullying another girl because she's great and different. And this is
starting at least in first grade, sometimes even earlier. Sophie,
so-
where can people find? I know that we had talked about me leading out with part of the song, but where can people go to find portions of Meaningful?
Meaningful's on. I mean,
I'll put it in the links, but I'd love for people to be able to.
Well, I put just a demo up on YouTube because, again, I was
Okay.
moved and I wanted to start the conversation musically.
Mhm.
So Do Something Meaningful, it's a demo version on YouTube. And then, of course, I'm making the next record and it will probably be on it. But I like the idea of not making the next record in a void. I like the idea of really reaching out and trying to reach with people. But, you know, also, I don't understand politics anymore. I feel very alienated from, I don't watch TV. I don't hardly listen to the news. I can't bear it. And sometimes I read books all the time, but I can't do it anymore.
Mhm.
I feel like I'm becoming one of these people who just doesn't fit in this country. All this crazy anger, hatred.
Well, and
It's hostile. There's no question. It's hostile.
it is hostile.
And there's turf war, you know, like there's so much, but you know, either we retreat into our comfort
Disappear.
zone,
Right.
which is very tempting, you know, it's extremely tempting, or we say, okay, what's one thing I can do today?
Well, I think that we have a Sophie, Kate, and Traci conversation, and that's something meaningful today, right, Soph?
Yes, it
Right,
is.
Kate? I will say this, I think both of you are brilliant in so many ways, both very, very dear friends, and I love this conversation. Any other thoughts, my friends?
Well, I have a thought too, is that it's also the sense of anger and hostility is also because people are starting to feed on hatred in a way. They're feeding on it.
Mhm.
And in a way, we have to make the choice in our lives, even if we don't do something, even if our day is lost in administrative BS or whatever, we can just being a sense of true and deep gratitude is almost as good. Really, I won't say the word,
Yeah.
I don't want to say the word happiness because that may be too far, but really being truthful in your life and being grateful and just smiling at somebody. Do you know, it's almost like you can be shamed into not smiling at people anymore. Like, you smile at somebody and they almost will like, were you smiling?
That's an interesting thing. I was in the grocery store yesterday and I thought the same. I'm a smiler and I enjoy helping people with things. If the lady can't get her bag from the thing for the fruit, and it's interesting to watch how people react to that.
Yeah, like
That's a shame. That's a shame, because I think you're right. I think it's a little more prevalent.
The term of art is atomization, right? Like it's
Exactly.
everything is getting smaller and smaller. Our universe,
Right.
our ability to function, and everything is getting down to the granular, all we can take in, because there's so much stim coming from everywhere all the time.
Mhm.
yeah.
I love the notion of just, I mean, one great thing you can do each day is to feel your own gratitude, right?
Wow. Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
that's how the engine changes, right? Like that's how, if we concentrate, actually, when we concentrate on what we're thankful for, I mean, it's so trite to say it, but it's powerful. When we concentrate on that, then a lot of other stuff.
Absolutely.
Yes, and then you get down to the atomization of that. Like because my children are young and there's all this pressure with college now with Nashville. And there was one moment where I realized this. I realized that I was so grateful when Dashiell looked at Esther that way and that smile. And then I was so grateful when Esther brought her dish over. Like, you get down to the nitty gritty of what you're really grateful for, and then you realize you have the greatest life. When you start being thankful
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
little things, you realize you have the greatest life. And it doesn't matter if you just lost your job, because that moment where you're walking out and you're telling someone and they go, hey, well, why don't you come and do that? Then you're so grateful for that little moment. It's
Right.
just that, it isn't honestly about money and fame. I know this is an old thing, but it's not about prestige, money, and fame. That's not where your sense of significance comes from. It comes from truly feeling inside that you recognize the greatness in your own life, as small as it is. And then it just like empowers you, and then you make your choices.
Well, to your point, the woman in the first row wasn't judging you, right?
Yes,
But,
yes.
but you
Exactly. But you
had
thought she
to reclaim
was.
your own significant, like in that moment, you reclaimed,
Exactly.
and you were thankful she was sitting in the first row,
It's
because
so, I just,
As probably one of your biggest fans, so right. So, but what was going through your head was, it's funny, right?
you can't even imagine. There were so many moments like that on these tours that I did. Like, one time I walked out and a woman was pointing at me and she was whispering, and I was singing and smiling and really happy to be there. And finally I said to her, are you drunk? What are you saying to me? And she goes, your fly is down.
Well, but Sophie, you're already always usually barefoot on stage,
Yeah,
and
but
in
the
your
thing
old
is,
blue jeans, and if your fly's down, so what?
no, but well, I think the magic to me was, first of all, I was kind of rude to say, are you drunk? And it was sort of my bravado as a performer. But when she said, you're fine, I mean, come on, that is the greatest moment.
That is
yeah.
funny. That is
What's the
funny.
word, Kate? You can tell me. But it was, the whole audience was just like roaring with laughter. And so was I. And I wasn't ashamed. I was so happy.
I
To
love
be,
that. I love that.
That's what we need.
She's like,
That's how you heal,
you're fine.
right? Like that is how you heal, when you can laugh together at things.
Exactly. What a moment. What a moment that we all need and to appreciate on a daily basis. Moment.
I hope I never forget all these moments. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
We have to keep talking. Well, I wish we could expand this party right here. Maybe, Traci, you could get three very different people on, and maybe
When you were saying that earlier, Soph, I was thinking, I have, first of all, Leslie, my other co-host here, who is in who knows where she is right now, Thailand or Singapore, I don't know. But and then Rich Loges has been reaching out to me again, and he would probably know three. Let's think and let's dig into that. What are your thoughts, ladies?
and I think we should make dinner together, or have an evening at
We can totally do that.
I think we should maybe it's a lot to do that, but maybe have some kind of camera on and actually.
I think that's a wonderful idea. Kate's in Brooklyn, you're in Connecticut, I'm in West Orange and Montclair. We can figure it all out. We could.
Many,
Go to one of our houses.
Pardon,
But
what, Kate?
many could film it.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. We'll talk off after I end this recording, we'll talk a minute, but Sophie, Kate's daughter is, and I adore her and love her. She's now with my manager, my talent manager, and she's incredibly talented. She's an incredibly gifted director. And she could totally come and film the three of us making dinner, and it's the three of us chatting. And I also do believe
of us plus people who don't.
That's what my point is. We'll have a 6-person dinner party. We'll get it together. We'll get it together with the other threesome, as Kate said. You didn't say threesome.
Yeah.
However, thank you, darling.
It's a
Yes,
great
we
idea.
will have
And,
it.
if
We will do
Maddie if this idea takes, maybe we do get the artists. Maybe we get in a room with some other musical artist and.
Yeah, we could have who knows? We might have a series going on here.
Well, we could actually write something and record the making of it. It seems like
If the three of us with all of our combined talents can't put that together, I don't know.
Well, it's really just getting the personnel. I'm
Exactly.
going to Brooklyn next week. It's easy for me. But I wanted to say, did you see the show Couples Therapy?
Did not.
Oh, it's actually a real therapist in Gowanus, Brooklyn, named Orna something. And I don't know how people let go of the idea that the camera was there, but it's literally couples therapy.
Oh, wow.
And she's all kinds of people on there, every kind of person you can imagine. And even like an Israeli and a Palestinian couple, like
Nice.
everyone. And it's so much healing is going on in this room. And people definitely forget the camera is on. And if you watch couples therapy, the first season, I don't know if they have a second, you'll understand what I mean. You can do this work with the camera on, and people love that show. It's amazing.
Fantastic. Let's think and do something like that.
I'm in.
I'm in too. Let's do it.
Right. Get your calendars out. Let's do it.
Okay, let's do. We're gonna let. I know you have a 4 o'clock, and Sophie.
I have a lot of time. I never say I'm busy, and if I am, I always forget they am, because when these ideas come up, this is important. I will make myself available.
Okay, well then the three of us have some work to do, and I think that we have, and I think it's a wonderful idea and a very important, significant adventure that we can all.
What we're getting at is the ways in which we heal are multi-dimensional, right? Like food is a way, right? Like
that would be Leslie's thing, yeah.
And it's also the idea of doing something together. So making that meal together with people we don't agree with.
Exactly. Yeah.
Music is a healing, conversation is a healing. Like that's the theory of the case, is that you can't do it on, it's a multilateral solution set.
I'll reach out to Rich, and also I think that, what I'd like to do is get a really cool little table at some cool restaurant. I'll get it, I'll do it, and we'll just have, we'll have Matty film it, we'll have a conversation, and it'll be very interesting. I'm in.
All right. Now all we have to do is calendarize it.
Okay. Well, we all have each other's, yes, we will do so.
Okay. We got a plan.
We have a plan on how to heal the division. Yeah. Sophie?
Well, thank God we're not just talking, we're going to be doing. Kate. Love it.
I love you. I love you both so much. And yes, exactly.
So be grateful for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. All right. I'm going to
Ladies of America. Back in the kitchen.
I think we have a plan.